traveling this road for so long, searching for a place where I might belong. Survived the fight for 1,000 miles of life. I got one more left in me. Watching everybody passing me by, I know I waited just a little too long. And I'm tired of wandering no direction. There is no one left for me. I know I saw the danger sign. For such a long, long time, wasted 1,000 miles of life, standing by the side of the road. Wasted 1,000 miles of life.
Hi, I'm Robin Bensley. Welcome to Chow Time. Each and every week I bring you a recipe. They're always easy and they're always interesting. I kind of have a special guest for Chow Time. It happens to be half of Hall Oates, who happen to be the most successful rock duo in music history. It's the tall blonde one, John Oates.
Oh, that's me.
Hi,
That's me.
John.
You mean the tall blonde one without the mustache?
Yes.
Yes, that would be me.
That's right. Thanks a lot for having me to your farm in Aspen, Colorado.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's
And-
nice to be here.
Yeah, and
It's nice for me to be here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk food.
Okay.
Do you cook?
You know, I'm not a great cook, but I do enjoy cooking. I kind of like when I have the kitchen to myself and I can just kind of do my thing. I'm pretty basic. My mother is Italian, and we cook some very basic Italian food. I have a kind of a rigatoni and sausage thing that I do, and of course I'm your typical caveman. You know, I like to grill. I like to get a big piece of meat out there on the grill and burn it.
So you're not like a health food nut. I mean, you eat your
Well,
meats and things like that.
I do. I'm an omnivore, yes, for sure. But I eat. I try to eat healthy. I definitely eat healthy as best I can. But I like a lot of different kinds of foods.
But see, everyone has, I call it closet food.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those foods that it's so awful you're almost embarrassed to admit that you eat.
Well, I wouldn't say it's awful, but I definitely have a closet food. It's ice cream. I have been an ice cream fanatic since I've been a little kid, and I have a big problem with ice cream.
So you're taking me out for an ice cream cone, 2 scoops. What flavors are you getting?
Well, first of all, I hate ice cream cones because they're too sloppy and I can't eat them.
Okay, in the dish.
In the dish.
Okay.
I like all the high end ice creams. The Haagen-Dazs, the Ben and Jerry's, that kind of stuff. I like New York Super Fudge Chunk from Ben and Jerry.
Okay.
Am I allowed to talk products?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I like vanilla.
Hall Oates is a product.
Chocolate chip almond. Yeah, that's true. we are sort of a name brand. Vanilla chocolate chip. Kind of basic. I like really great fruit ice creams when the fruit is fresh, like strawberry, peach, stuff like that.
What foods will never touch your lips?
I'm not a fan of Indian food. Indian food, I like it, but I don't love it, and I don't go out of my way to eat it.
So you're not into the spicy stuff too much?
I like spices. I don't care for cumin and certain. There's a certain particular spices that they use in Indian food that don't agree with me.
Yeah,
and I don't like raw onions.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I love cooked onions, though.
Yeah, we could never be married.
Okay.
I love raw
Sounds
onions. Good. Now, you have traveled the world doing your concerts, and you must have run into some bizarre foods as far as trying unusual things, for instance.
Well, I think one of the things that stands out in my mind was in our frequent trips to Japan, especially in the early days, in the late 70s and early 80s, when Japan wasn't quite as westernized, and we would go out of our way to request them taking us to the most bizarre places, and they would take us to some really weird places, and some of it I could handle, and some of it we had this one thing called snot soup. We called it snot soup. Of course, they didn't.
Yeah.
It was a root vegetable of some sort, and it was white and it was slimy, and they seemed to really like it, and it was horrible. We tried that, and I think the craziest thing I ever ate was a live fish.
Alive, still moving.
Fish, yes, it was on a plank with 2 kind of spikes sticking up, and the head was on one set of spikes, and the tail was on one set of spikes, and it was kind of curved. And then in the center, they had cut out the section in little tiny squares, and the fish was alive. So every time you'd go to get a square of meat, the fish would be trying to bite you and flapping its tail. It was disgusting.
Oh my
But
God.
that's probably the most bizarre thing I think I've ever heard.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there are always weird things that happen around dinners. Like, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you while you were dining?
Well, in Australia, on our first Australian tour, I think it was 1980 or 81, our first show was Melbourne, Australia, and we were very excited to be in Australia, and we did the show, and we found a restaurant that would hold open for us. So we went to the restaurant. It was Daryl, myself, our road manager, and our bass player and his girlfriend. And we had a nice little booth, and we were sitting there. The restaurant was basically empty, except for one other booth that had the chef, his wife, his brother, and his wife. So it was the four of them on the other side of the restaurant and ourselves. And we were having a really great private dinner, and it was really nice. And all of a sudden, bursting through the door comes this guy with a ski mask and a sawed-off shotgun.
Get out.
Seriously. And we thought it was a joke. We figured the record company did this just to kind of goof on us and welcome us to Australia.
Yeah.
Because you have to remember, it was the 80s and it was kind of crazy. So.
Yeah.
As it turned out, it wasn't. And he came over to our table and he began to demand our cash. And I remember him distinctly, waving the gun at us. And we were just sitting there kind of in shock. And our tour manager pulled out a credit card. And he said, "I don't want any plastic." And he knocked it out of the way. And he rifled through the girl's bag. He took some cash. And he went over to the other table. And while he was at the other table, unbeknownst to us, the kitchen staff had seen what was going on. They called the police. So the police were already on their way. Of course, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
And he reached down to look in the chef's wife's bag.
Yeah.
And the chef grabbed him by the neck and punched him. Knocked him down, and we rushed him. And we pushed him through a plate glass window, which was at the entrance of the restaurant. And then the police arrived at that moment. We were literally standing on top of him, holding his gun down. And so it ended up, he was known as the Rusty Gun Bandit, and we ended up capturing him. So we made all the papers. It was great publicity for the tour.
Oh yeah. And did you tip the waiter that night for the meal?
No.
So you have 5 acres of property on your farm.
Yep.
And you're growing food in pots.
Yes, this is our nod to my Italian urban upbringing. My grandmother in New York City used to grow herbs and things on her windowsill in New York City. And I always remember her going in right off the little fire escape.
Yeah.
And she would be picking things. And I just thought it was really cool because we travel so much. We had a garden, and it was just kind of hard to keep attending to it.
Well, do wild animals get in?
Yeah, of course we have animals and stuff like that. So we decided this year, and plus it looks cool. And it's so much more convenient. We come out and pick our lettuce. We have little tomatoes growing, cherry tomatoes. We have some basil and arugula and basil's over there. And I love making tomato and mozzarella caprese salads.
Oh, yeah.
So,
and I see you have nasturtiums.
Yes.
Did you know, I just found this out like a week ago, did you know you can eat the leaves as well as the flowers?
I did not know that, but we're going to start doing that immediately.
See? Okay. Fancy salad.
There you go. But yeah, it's just fun. It's more convenient because it's here on our deck, our little enclosed porch, and right off the kitchen, and it's easy for us to just come out and do it. And we just thought it looked nice and it was fun. So
that's a great idea. And this kind of lettuce makes your hair curly. Did you know that?
I should stop eating it immediately. No.
I've been traveling this road for so long, searching for a place where I might belong. Survived the fight for 1,000 miles of life. I got one more left in me. Watching everybody passing me by.